industries such as construction, agriculture. One is that it costs a lot of money to remove someone here illegally. 18 million, and you can see the tremendous economic benefit to the country. Then you multiply that more by the amount of tax revenue that is generated by these individuals and the fact that the economy will grow. We are running out of employees. This is Steve Gibson reporting. The Wall Street Journal reported recently that certain industries are needing vastly greater number of employees. Industries such as construction, agriculture, restaurant, and service industries are running out of employees because the illegal immigrant class that was servicing those sectors is not showing up for a variety of reasons. What this also therefore means is that we need a better legal immigration policy. Now, I have advocated several things with respect to immigration policy that I think the Trump administration is doing fundamentally incorrectly. Let's start with something that the Trump administration actually is doing correctly, and that is closing the border. There is no question that we should have a mandate that there should be respect for our border. I have no dispute with that whatsoever. If I have to come back into the country and show my passport and other documentation, there should be no reason that other folks should not be required to re-enter the country legally. We need to have a fundamental respect for the law with respect to immigration policy. And that means that folks should be only allowed to enter the country through lawful means. That means a closed border. What it also, however, means is that we need, therefore, thereafter to understand what the dynamic is in the cost-benefit structure of eliminating people that entered the country illegally. Well, there's several things that are happening right now. One is that it costs a lot of money to remove someone here illegally. And I have maintained that if those folks are in fact engaging in other criminal activity, they should be prosecuted. Whether they're prosecuted in jailed or prosecuted in removed, we can talk about that, but one way or the other, additional crimes being committed other than merely illegally entering the country need to be strictly and severely prosecuted. That element does not deserve to stay in our country. The element that does deserve, in my view, to stay in the country to benefit us all are those folks that have already illegally entered the country and are working, participating in society peacefully and lawfully, potentially paying taxes, and when I say taxes, income taxes. They're already paying sales taxes and otherwise supporting the economy. And we're losing a lot of the workforce that supports many sectors of the economy because some of those folks are scared to show up to work or otherwise finding ways to remove themselves from the country. We're at about 4.3% unemployment rate. Historically, that rate has been defined as full employment. Why would a 4.2 or 4.3% unemployment rate be defined by economists as full employment? Well, it's defined as full employment because there is a natural transitionary element to what happens in the workforce. People move out of work for whatever reason in transition to a new workforce. There are other life circumstances that occur amongst that 4% of the population. That means that anything below 4% is an overheated economy. We can't possibly maintain, for example, 98% employment rate because of the vagaries of what happens in people's lives. Therefore, while it is maintained that the illegal immigrant class takes jobs away and housing opportunities away from American citizens, that's not entirely true. In fact, the counter is probably true. If you do not have homes being constructed by those folks that entered illegally, or our agriculture being attended to, or other service industries being well staffed, then the economy tends to reduce in size, and that adversely affects all of the other people that are being serviced by those workers. Which is why you should have a policy that does not spend money removing 15 to 20 million people at $17,000 per person. What you should have is a policy that has each and every one of those individuals paying a fee, even if it's on a payment plan, to register, remain in the country. And if you do that, you have potentially a net $20,000 per person or $25,000 per person benefit to the federal government. Multiply that by 15 million and you can see the tremendous economic benefit to the country. Then you multiply that more by the amount of tax revenue that is generated by these individuals and the fact that the economy will grow more by the 15 million people staying in the United States. You then need to couple that with a much, much more robust legal immigration policy. What do I mean by a more robust legal immigration policy? Well, we need to staff out our foreign consulates and embassies in various countries that take submissions of folks that want to come to the United States, and that they pass interview processes and diagnostic assessments of whether or not those people are inclined to work peacefully, not commit crimes. Now, we're never going to be 100% on those diagnostics, but we can get a sense of whether or not those people have a criminal or other troubled record in the countries that they're presently in, and whether or not those people are inclined to be productive, whether they have any skills, whether they are inclined to work in construction or agriculture or maid service or food service. And we then calculate what the needs are for those industries, and we calculate how many people we're admitting with respect to serving those industries. We are then able to manage the process. We might even have employers on site that are, going to commit to employ these people. Why do we not have the systemic, rational approach towards bringing in workers? This could include, for example, as well, an established outpost in the Philippines where we interview potential doctor candidates, nursing candidates, maid service candidates, construction candidates, all in an employment situation where in this facility you have medical facility representatives, construction industry representatives, and you have a systemic, fluid, rational approach towards granting those individuals appropriate levels of work visas. If they then stay in the United States successfully without a criminal record on their work visa, they then should be granted, if it's a 1 year, 2 year, or 5 year process, green card status for successfully staying in the United States on their work visa, incorporating themselves into our communities and our economy, and then they are given an incentive to have a long-term stay or relationship with the United States and the United States economy. Now, that would just be one example of the Philippines, and the Philippines is a great example because there is a tremendous percentage of the population that speaks English effectively emanating from the Philippines. But there's no reason that we can't replicate that process in India and in Eastern Europe, where many of those communities have dedicated educational systems towards allowing English to be taught as a second language and facilitating potentially their entry into the United States rather rapidly without having problems of communication issues. We could also have an establishment of programs within the United States of having these work visa folks be provided English language study in a very concerted, appropriate, and efficient manner, whether that comes at some level of a fee, whether it's a government subsidized program. It's all potentially extraordinarily advantageous to the United States. Remember, one of the great problems that has plagued Japan and the Japanese economy ever since the early 1990s is a demographic problem. They simply don't have the kind of demographic growth. They are having far fewer people in the younger aspects of their generation serve a ever-expanding senior citizen community. The GDP, the gross domestic product of Japan, has roughly stagnated at about $4 trillion for decades, while Japan continues to produce a wide array of goods in the automotive and electronics areas. The Japanese economy has stalled, and that is associated mightily with respect to their demographic problem. China as well is now experiencing the same demographic concerns, and the conclusion is that the Chinese economy will basically stagnate as well in terms of their growth. Now, the Chinese say that robotics is going to come to the rescue, but you still have a tremendous dichotomy between the younger folks that are out there in China attempting to support senior citizens. Inevitably, you're going to find that you're not going to have the kind of growth in China that China needs to support its citizens, even if they have expanded robotics. The United States has tremendous territorial assets. We have plenty of land, we have plenty of capacity to increase the size of our country. There are more than 1 billion people in China in terms of population compared to the population of the United States, with roughly the same territorial size. In other words, there's well in excess of 1.3 billion people in China, while the United States has roughly 350 million, I should say, people. We have a capacity, if we manage processes correctly, to expand our population, expand our demographic pool so that we incorporate younger individuals into our country through a legal immigration policy. But we need to do it in a manner that brings those folks rationally into our system. What that means is that they learn English, they become registered, they pay taxes, they become part of our culture, they respect our laws. All of this is certainly both viable and possible through a rational legal immigration policy. Both the Republicans and the Democrats seem to be affixated on illegal immigration without allocating adequate resources to a legal immigration structure. Yes, there's no question that we should close the border, and there's no question that we should monitor the immigration programs into our country. But for those out there that say that the immigrant class is a net destructive aspect to our society, they are categorically wrong. The statistics are very, very clear. We need the immigrant class to continue to work in those areas that, frankly, American youth are uninterested in working in. And that is in construction, in the trades, and in certain service sectors. You know, this also means that our youth should be oriented more into the trades, into becoming plumbers and electricians and the like, and they're not doing that. There's no question that you can make six figures right now as an electrician without even sweating it. That means that our education system should be oriented appropriately for people that are already here. This is, again, Steve Gibson reporting. A shout out to Tiger Logic and their fantastic production value. Please remember to like, subscribe, and follow so that I can continue to provide these observations in a very logical fashion.